Welcome on back to another episode of Book Smart Life Dumb, the show where we're not reading any books and we're dumb about life. Isn't that just so peachy? You know, it's funny. I think about how the title of the show might mislead people into thinking that it's a show where you're just so obsessed about books that you literally don't know anything about life. Something or another. It's a random thought that pops into my head throughout the week. Speaking of the week, I hope yours was great. I hope you had a good one. I hope you had a great weekend to cap it off. And if not, great news. We have a whole other week to try over again and to do it right this time. Last week, we celebrated episode 10 by only having like a 12-minute episode because I was a little under the weather, but I'm sounding and feeling so much better. I think the only thing I've got going for me right now is a bit of a head cold. I got like some fluid in my ear and I can't hear out of my right ear properly. And it's been about a week of it, but it's slowly coming back. It's weird. I could only describe it as someone took all of the bass frequencies out of my right ear. And anything I listen to, even with like a headphone, an in-ear, monitor, anything literally pressed up against my eardrum, it sounded like it was coming through a tin can, and it sucked. That first day at work, when I woke up and I realized that my equilibrium was off, I fell over like 2 times. Nothing like bad, like just kind of like got very wobbly and like had to take a knee, kind of like vertigo, I guess. Even that night, I tried to stream and I was just sitting at my desk, and because the right cup of my headphones when I'm here at my desk, because they're bigger than like an earbud, but because I wasn't getting any bass frequencies in the right side of my head, my headphone would jiggle a little bit, but there was no sound to accompany the vibration. So I just started to feel dizzy just sitting at my desk. I wasn't moving, Interesting stuff. Let's see. This past week, what have I been up to? Unfortunately, before I started to get all this like ear whatever conundrum going on, right before that, I actually started sitting down and recording guitar tracks again just for fun, but I had to kind of quickly shut that one down because I just couldn't hear and everything sounded off to me. What else? I've got a new glucose monitor on. I was able to come into some Dexcom G7s instead of the Stellos I usually wear. So this one's going to be able to show me a bit more blood sugar range. It'll update a little bit quicker. And also gives me alerts. And I don't know why the feature is locked behind just this one that's you need a prescription to get, but like I can see my blood sugar on the home screen of my iPhone now. Like I could just raise the phone up to my face and just see it. I don't have to go digging through an app to find it. So that's nice. But last night was the first night I tried to sleep with it on, and I don't have like a steady blood glucose when I go to bed. When I go to bed, I either go into a low or I go into a high. It's very rare that I just stay within blood sugar range when I'm in bed. And so last night, unfortunately, all these alarms started going off while I was sleeping and waking me up. It does have a quiet mode, though. It does have a quiet mode. And, I keep stuff within reach of my bed on my little nightstand. So I have I have candy and glucose tablets and all that stashed pretty much around most aspects of my life. My backpack will always have all sorts of stuff, and I just travel everywhere with my backpack now. It makes it so much easier because I have my wallet in there. I have, important documents I may need at a moment's notice in there, so I never lose them, as well as, things for my disability. So I have, candy, glucose tablets. I also have my insulin and my syringes, all that stuff. Used to carry my laptop with me everywhere, but I would get my laptop out once every month and a half. And I was like, I don't need this. I can just leave it at home. And that's actually where I do all of my musical stuff because of my audio interfaces and the programs on there. It's just easy. And I have it all in one spot, and haphazardly, I can either set up in the living room. I could set up in my office. I could set up wherever I want to. I even go to my mom's place. And my stepdad, he has a couple of guitars that kind of achieve tones that I would like to have, but I necessarily can't get with the guitars that I have. So I can just pick up and bring a very, very broken down recording studio over there. It's nice. But yeah, what was even the reason for that tangent? Oh, so I could feel when my sugar gets low. I could feel it. I mean, right now I'm sitting here with my blood sugar bouncing back up from a low 50s. Had a very low blood sugar morning, but I had some toaster strudel, had a little breakfast, a little sugary breakfast instead of a bit more of like a carb conscious breakfast. And it's on the rise, and I'm sitting here doing Booksmart Lifetime with all of you. This past week, I had a recurring thought. About the concept of growing up. I know I have sat down and I've probably, through various topics have mentioned, this must be a product of growing up. This must be, what growing old feels like, etc. But never once have I truly analyzed what it means to grow up. There is a quote from probably my least favorite Yellow Card song on the album Southern Air. It's a song called Here I Am Alive. It's very much a very poppy song. In the world of pop punk, that is very much pop more than punk. But there's a quote in that song, in the chorus. It says, I'm going to now, here you go, Patreon. Here's me just double checking myself. There's a quote in that song that says, they say you don't grow up, you just grow old. And I think that's a concept I've tried to hang on to passively. I don't think I've actively tried to maintain like youth. I think that's just who I am. I'm a goofy guy. I like to have fun. I think there are many parts of life that just become dull and boring if you let them. I mean, it's reasons why I, instead of taking up other hobbies, I've stayed at a hobbyist level for content creation and just enjoyed the process and enjoyed doing this stuff. I never cared if I became, this like internet celebrity because of, YouTubing or streaming or I guess now podcasting. I've never cared if people like wanted to listen to it. I just enjoyed week by week doing this stuff. This stuff is so interesting to me and it's so fun and it's such a awesome like process, and I've fallen in love with the process. It's why I was always fine doing things like stream production and, sitting behind the camera and swapping between different cameras for like esports or running things on during COVID on Twitch, like the Roadless series for Road Nation, where we put on 12 indie artists a week. In a live show format with interviews and performances, and it was on the front page. It was sweet. It was awesome. It was very cool. It was it's stuff that just blew my mind. There's so many ways to do all this stuff and so many avenues to take in. So anytime I hear that one of my friends that streams is having issues with their setup or audio or this, that, and the other, I chomp at the bit to jump in and dive in and help them out. It's because all this stuff and the way it works is it tickles the Lego bricks in my mind to build that Millennium Falcon, and it's so satisfying every time. But I've never sat down and wondered what it means to grow up, Does it mean that the dreams you formed when you were younger disappear? Does it mean that it's time to put on a dress shirt everywhere you go and sit at your corporate cubicle job and watch as the day passes you by outside? Does it mean letting go of the hobbies because you just don't have time anymore? Or does it just simply mean that one day you're going to look and everything's going to be a little more gray? And I won't ignore the concept that there's probably a inverse of this for some people out there who particularly didn't enjoy their childhood and couldn't wait to grow up. Hell, I remember being a kid who, I'll be honest, I didn't have like a particularly bad childhood, but man, was I so excited to be an adult. Boy, howdy, was I so excited to not have to go to school anymore, to not live with my parents, to not have to do homework, to not have chores anymore, to have this like mysticism and wonderment. Oh boy, howdy, I cannot wait to be an adult. What an awesome thing this is gonna be. And you flash forward, you hard cut, the screen fades to black as quickly as the words are coming out of my mouth. 12 years later, 30 years old, I'm in an apartment. I have chores. I have homework that I assigned myself. I have to go to my job 5 days a week for 8 hours a day. All those things that I despised when I was a kid, I grew up to replace them with. But it's not to say I necessarily hate it either. We hate school. We hated school. We hated chores. We hated this, that, the other when we were, young teenagers because it was other people telling us what to do. It were tasks that we had no investment in because we didn't create them. We didn't see why they were important to take care of. We don't see that. You don't see why you need to take the trash out. You didn't see why going out and getting the mail every day is important. You didn't see that stuff. You didn't clean the bathroom every couple of days because your parents were over obsessive with cleanliness. It's because you need to clean the goddamn bathroom. Because if you don't clean it, it's going to just get dirty. And then you grow up and you have this freedom and all of this free time. Oh, wow. Look at that. I have all this time to myself. I'm out here experiencing the world. I'm doing the damn thing. Look how sick and awesome this all is. And now you fill your time. You fill up your calendar. Maybe you keep a calendar. Maybe you don't. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to work at a place that I semi-like or I hate or I enjoy, but it's going to get me money, which is going to afford me to do this, that, the other. My weekends are going to look like this. My weekdays are going to look like that. I'm going to do this in the morning, or I'm going to sleep in because I don't have to, because no one has to tell me to wake up to go to school anymore. I just have to wake up to make sure I can get to work, which means I can wake up 10 minutes before my shift starts because I'm walking distance from my job. And then you flash forward. And then you wake up one day and you realize that you have no time for anything. You wake up and you realize that you went to school every day. You came home and did your homework. You woke up earlier and earlier because you made you feel better. You do your chores every day to maintain your life. And all that money that you're making in your newfound freedom of adulthood goes to bills, goes to rent, goes to food. And you look back at your expenses for the month and you go, it feels like I went to work for free. But really, you went to work to afford that newfound freedom. Growing up is a concept I've been struggling with lately, mostly because I feel like I was supposed to turn 30 and something was going to hit me in the side of the head, an idea or like a realization. I was like, oh, no, I'm supposed to do this and everything's going to click like that and, straighten my back and join the workforce or join society in a specific way. But I sit here as things build up around me in my life, as things crash around me in my life, as things, evolve and change in ways I either found favorably or not favorably. And I think I'm realizing now that growing up as a concept isn't binary. It's not 0 becomes 1. Growing up as a concept is however you decide to take life's challenges and changes and mold and evolve them. I think I realize now that growing up for me, for Adam, means to roll with the punches. If anything, growing up is just being Rocky. It's not about how hard I can emerge as the Phoenix taking on this newfound freedom of growing up and being that adult and breaking away from all the things that, this is going to date me a little bit, but all the things that irked me, all the things that really ate at me all the time as a young man. And realizing that it's not about being the fiery phoenix in the sky illuminating this new life. It's not about how bright you shine. It's not about how hard you can hit. It's about not letting your flame extinguish when it rains. It's about not letting your flame dim a little bit because, the sun's out and shining. I'll let them brighten up the day. It's not about any of that. It's about remaining strong and keeping your composure. And it's going to rain on you a couple times. That's just the way it goes. Welcome to planet Earth, buddy. We've got weather. And we talk about it on Book Smart Life Dumb every week. And when it rains, take care of yourself. Find some shelter. Or just don't mind the rain and realize it's not the worst thing in the world to get wet. I think for me, growing up as a theme in life and as a concept means it's not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep fighting. It's about perseverance. It's about resilience. It's about being the strong person you've always aspired to be and putting your money where your mouth is. I thought I would rant on that a bit more, but I think what happens is that I sit here and I talk and I chat and I vibe out and I do the thing and I just keep going. But the whole point of doing Book Smart Life Dumb was for me to week by week do an expose of how my brain works. I ramble a lot. I would say I ramble a lot, but I never discounted myself for rambling and chit-chatting and using words because my brain, I find, just doesn't work the same way that a lot of other people's brains work. I'm not very calculated. I'm not very methodical. I don't have like a scientific process for how I do things. It's just talking myself through my problems. It's talking myself through my thought processes. And then I just arrive on solutions or potential answers, I think that in collaborative workspaces, that could be problematic for me, which is why I never sought out like a co-host for this. It was always about doing the damn thing. It was always about how I've always worked with people. I've never worked with myself. I've never worked with Adam. I've never worked in an expository form that didn't include collaboration. I think the closest thing you could probably get to that out of me was probably early in my streaming career when I streamed with 1/16 of the required upload speed that everybody else was using around me on Twitch. Therefore, if I was streaming, I could not play multiplayer games. I had to enjoy games alone. I had to enjoy games by myself for the however many people wanted to watch at the time. But even then, I was 18, I want to say. Yeah, I was 18 at the time. I was 17 going on to 18. My first Twitch broadcast is actually this month. I think we just passed a stream anniversary 13 years ago in April. My birthday's in late May. So 17 years ago. I was 17 years old. 13 years ago is when I started streaming. And I've been streaming ever since. I took a couple of like long stints off because I went out and I toured and I did music, and IRL streaming wasn't really quite the behemoth that it was back in 2016 and 2017 when I was touring. So it wasn't really something I could take with me. There were avenues for it, but it was like, yeah, jump on your phone and just hit go live and hope that your data plan, one, doesn't run out, and two, doesn't have bad coverage in wherever it is you're at. I remember there was a few times where I've done some IRL streams. I even use the apps on my phone if I just need to use a free camera around like my apartment or my house. I've been planning this stream. I want to do a full stream. It's a reward for the last subathon we did. And for those who are unaware, a subathon is when you do a live broadcast on Twitch or YouTube, wherever it is, and you have a timer on the stream. And subscriptions, which are a paid thing on Twitch, contribute to this big timer. And the timer is ever counting down, but it is in the viewer and the audience's hands to monetarily contribute to the broadcast and support the broadcast. And every monetary avenue that they accept will actually make the timer go up. And so I did a subathon, I want to say it was last year. Yes, it was last year, in 2024. In 2025. I forgot what year I'm in. In 2025, I did a subathon that lasted for, I want to say, 23 days. The stream was on the entire time. The timer got so large that first day of that subathon that I actually disassembled my bed out of my bedroom and reassembled it on camera in my office. And I slept on stream for nearly a month. And that was an odd and insane experience for me personally when that timer finally hit 0. That was strange for me. That was strange because the first night actually sleeping on camera was admittedly a little difficult, but every night after that, slept like a baby. Figured out my routine, figured out how to do everything. Here's what it's going to look like. I get off stream, I start playing, an old broadcast for the people still hanging out. And then I go take a shower, change into my PJs, off camera, of course. Jump right back into bed. And play a video on my phone, because that's just how I sleep. I usually put on like a 45-minute to an hour-long video on my phone to fall asleep to. Which is funny because a lot of it is politics. A lot of it is political content when I do that. But if you ask me anything about politics in current events, something that happened like this past week as far as political events go, dude, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. I slept through that class. I caught the first 5 minutes of the lecture, and 8 hours later, I was waking up to go to work. But man, actually, you know what? I completely forgot why I started talking about the subathon. Solely forgot. I'll keep talking about the subathon because it was awesome. It was great. It was so cool. It was a vibe, man. If I could win the lottery on a whim, if I could just pick a day and be like, I would like to win that lottery, please send me the check. I think as far as content creation goes, I'd probably do the same thing, if not more. I always, and this is a theme that I brought up in my talk about growing up. I just don't have time to do things that I want to do. But also, as I've been recently getting called out for, because I don't allow my brain to sleep, I don't allow my brain to rest while I'm awake, and it's always churning and chugging and never stopping. There are always new ideas formed in there. And as I mentioned earlier, I don't care if people watch it. I just want to make it. I have more fun. I'm like someone who like makes pottery, where I don't want to make a bowl or a mug or like a sculpture because I want people to buy it. I want to make it because I want to make it. I want to make it because I enjoy making it. It's so like, okay, if I wanted to make a third podcast for some reason, I'll probably sit down and be like, all right, this will be a 4-episode run. It'll be a limited thing. Maybe I'll limit it to Patreon, or maybe I'll just spin up a new entity and, you know, it'll be public for everybody to see, you know, or something like that, you know, like I don't, it's just, it's so fucking crazy to me. I have these thoughts and these ideas so often, so many times. I was texting somebody, and in texting them, I was listening to a couple of different podcasts. I was just letting Spotify just take me on autoplay that day. And I found myself being like, ooh, I should leave a comment about that. I was like, I do know something about that. I should leave a comment about that. Or I should remember to, you know, jump on the thread on Reddit for this episode and chime in about this. Blah, blah, blah. What if I just spun up a whole other podcast called Reply Guys, where I just take topics from other podcasts and be like, so here's my thoughts on that, and expand on it for 90 minutes. It like, even then, like later on in the day, I'm just like doing mindless busy work with my hands, and it was like just slower at work, which means I got to do a lot more like tasks that were not labor intensive, but like just they took time, and there's something you do by yourself at work. And so my mind just drifts, and I'm just like, oh, I know how to make Booksmart Lifetime easier. What if I just started editing the podcast while I'm recording it and just be conscious of like stopping and restarting the recording or something like that? And that's when I got called out. That's when I got called out, because I started talking about that, and they're like, you weren't kidding when you said that you don't stop fucking thinking about this stuff. And yeah, I don't think it's for an unhealthy reason, but I do recognize within myself that when I'm stressed out and when I can't stop stressing out, I don't know if I'm trying to distract myself or what, but I just have to be doing something with my hands, and I just have to be doing something. I don't know. Something my father does for sure. That guy is the busiest man I've ever met in my life. The guy is always busy. He actually just called me a little bit ago to go get dinner on Sunday. He doesn't even live in this state. I just found out that he's just here, or going to be here, or one of the two. Very haphazard. And that's how I'm going to start my week. And I hope you start your week off on the absolute rightmost foot. And I hope you can keep that energy going. I hope you can keep the positive energy from last week going. Or I hope you can toss a Uno reverse card down on last week and say, nope, my turn to be in control. It's been episode 11. Thank you guys so much. Next week, that means we've been doing this for 3 months. It's crazy. Crazy to me. Well, if you're on Spotify or YouTube, make sure you rate the show on Spotify. Make sure you like the episodes on YouTube and subscribe and follow and all those other things that I wish that the internet just unified back in, like, I don't know, 2020 or something like that. 2000, whatever the hell the guy posted his video of him at the zoo on YouTube. If only we all just followed that model, you know? Did YouTube even start with likes? What did YouTube look like? I was there. Don't get me wrong. I was there when YouTube started. But what did that look like? Maybe I'll deep dive. Maybe we'll chit chat about what our platforms that we use on a daily basis looked like when they first were started. But yeah, that's another episode for another week. And I'll see you then. Bye-bye.